We are here, you are there, with Allan Beswick.
Good evening. How are you? Hello. Welcome to the Allan Beswick Late Night Phone-In for a Saturday night, Saturday the 15th of July, and a switchy-titchy bitch, a third of it indeed, on the Sunday the 16th of July, because we spread over the time. It's good, isn't it? Okay, it's not. I don't care. It's the usual palaver. You talk about whatever you want to talk about. I do a little bit of listening, do a little bit of talking, usually interrupt you a bit, get grumpy, get happy, laugh at your jokes, applaud your singing, ignore your poetry as best I can. And the telephone number is the usual one, 0800 218 2255. You can talk about absolutely anything. We don't mind. The team tonight who are doing the not minding, well, we've got Talent who's in charge, Marlon who'll take your call, and Kieran who makes all the buttons work, and then there is I, Allan Beswick, the eponymous of the programme. So Allan Beswick Late Night phoning on 0800 218 2255. The news. No, we don't have news. This is my, if you like, distillation of what's caught my eye. There was a report this week that last year 3,400 bereaved people vetoed their loved ones' wishes that their organs be donated. Incredible, isn't it? A person says, what I want to happen to my bits when I die is this, and the bereaved say, no, we're not doing that. Seems a strange thing to do, almost a cruel thing to do, you might say. It's their right to do it, let's just say that. It's their right to do it, but for me, It's just wrong. If that's what they want, then let them have it, for crying out loud. If you love the person when they were alive, then respect their wishes when they're dead, and avoid condemning some stranger to death. Now, I'm not very good at breaking codes, hence my difficulty with cryptic crossword clues, but I can help Boris out. Oh, yeah. He appears to have forgotten the code for a crucial telephone that has on it information that may well call his behaviour into question. Might I suggest a number it could easily have been? It's most memorable for him. 3425. Have a look on your phone and see what letters they spell out. Could be quite appropriate. His Royal Highness King Charles is said to be trying to rescue HMS Bonington, on which he served as a young naval officer. It currently sits half submerged in the dock at Birkenhead and is thus, you might say, emblematic of royalty itself. Half dead in the water. And they said it would happen. And in London, I'm afraid it is happening. Parents refusing their kids the MMR jab has, the experts tell us, contributed to an outbreak of measles in the capital. Measles can kill you. We'll soon face the prospect of such a parent walking behind their child's coffin, regretting ever taking advice from the mouthy cretins on the internet. And then it's been an interesting week one way or another. When ordinary people are found to have misbehaved without breaking the law, they're castigated and made to suffer. When wealthy people do the same thing, they check themselves into a private hospital and plead that they've had mental problems, leaving their victims to struggle on regardless. Without referring to any particular incident, because there have been dozens over the years, the world has never been fair, but hiding behind an expensive doctor is cowardly, which one could say is a mental illness in its Eddie-garrity of falsetto fame with the Dreamers from Manchester, if I remember correctly. And Freddy, of course, was famous for doing a giant leap during his singing until he wrecked his ankle landing. So kind of changed his style after that, which to me makes perfect sense. And he rode up 0800 218 2255. How do Keith?
Hello, talking about Freddy and the Dreamers. I saw him at the Queen's Theatre, Blackpool, when he was jumping about, I might add.
Was he any good, apart from the jumping?
Oh, yeah. He was at the peak of his career, I would say, at that time. Yeah, right. Driving a serious job now. Driving licence at 70 plus.
Yeah.
And now I've had to fill in this form, and it says things like, "Are you mentally ill?" and all the rest of it, you know. And at the end, it says about donating your bits, you know.
Yes, it does. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm donating any bits that's any good.
Yeah, well, they're
Anyway.
to somebody, aren't they?
Well, yeah, if they're any good to anybody, of course. But what happens after what happens now? I send the form in and all the rest of it. So when I get a new licence, what happens at that point?
That's it, you get a new licence. They don't come and take your
Till
kid
when?
if that's what you're worried about. I can't remember now, I think it lasts 3 years, it might be 5. But you have to, once you reach the age of 70, it used to be that a driving licence was for life. But we ended up with 97-year-olds driving cars, and some people thought that was a bit iffy. So they introduced the picture licence, and that kicks in at 70. You get that, you get your photograph done and all of that, and then you have to renew it every specified number of years. They'll tell you when you get it, when it is that you've got to renew it, but I think it might be 5 years, it might be 3 years.
Right, well, a bit of time anyway.
Yeah. So you've got it for a while, and if you snuff it in the meantime, it makes it harder for somebody to if you like, to use your driving licence illegally.
Right, get the idea.
Yeah, so that's what goes on anyway.
Right, next one.
It's every 3 years you renew it.
3 years, oh, well, at least they're old now. You know, sausages used to be called bangers.
I think there still are occasionally, bangers and mash, as it were.
Well, I've read here that the reason they call them bangers is because people put water in instead of meat, and then that's why they went bang, because it was full of boiling water when they were cooking.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly moisture in there. It's not... It's put into the mix to make the meat go further, as it were, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The economy job, you know.
Yeah, but sausages on the continent, they don't go bang to the same degree because they're just meat.
Oh, well, right. Right, last one. Have you ever heard of salt on glaze?
Salt on glaze?
Yes.
No.
It's a very posh word for custard, and you get very, very little.
Right.
It's from Royal Programme tonight, that particular
right.
one.
Salt on glaze.
Yeah.
So if somebody says to me, you want a jam roly-poly with salt on glaze, I'll say, keep the salt, I'll just have the glaze.
Yeah, my wife says put it in a jug.
There might not be enough from where you've described it. Put it in a thimble.
I know. All right, I'll get off
Have
now.
a good night, Keith. How do, Kathy? Kathy's gone home. How do, Kathy?
Oh, sorry.
It's all right.
Sorry, I was just finishing my coffee.
Right. Well, now you've finished it and you want to chat. What do you want to chat about, Kathy?
Well, I hate to well, I don't hate to say it, no. I'm going to really, really miss the show, Alan.
Right. Well, it's around for a good while yet.
Well, I hope so. But I'm an old stickler. I don't like change, I'm afraid, which has caused lots and lots of problems in the past.
Indeed.
Oh, yes. Yes.
But if it wasn't for change, I wouldn't be here. There'd be some bloke who started doing it back in 1964, wouldn't there? He'd still be here, or she. And the change is what put me on, so you have to like a bit of it from time to time.
Well, I wasn't listening to it back then.
All right. Okay, well, perhaps you'll stop when it changes, but give it a go at least.
No, I think it's a damn good programme, and it's a shame. I mean, like I say, I'm not one for change, but I know you've got to move along with the times. you know, you've helped me through a lot of discussions I had with lots and lots of problems with one of my sons who was using drugs, and you gave me some good information, and I've used it, and hopefully he's coming round to not taking it, which is a damn good positive.
Brilliant.
Yeah, oh yeah.
On his part, I mean, congratulate him every day you see him, because on his part, that takes a great deal of courage.
It does, because at the end of the day, he has siblings, and they said, you know, if you really, really want to turn your life around, then you've got to do it for yourself, but you've also got to do it for us as well, because, you know, you're not in a good place at the moment, which he wasn't, because he flatlined twice, and they said, you know, they said to him, you know, Mum doesn't want somebody knocking at the door saying, is this your son, through the drugs, through, you know, flatlining and things like that. But he's had lots of counselling, and he said, you know, I've done this for my mum and for myself and for my siblings, and I'm hoping I can keep on straight and narrow, which is very, very good, Alan. But I wouldn't have got there if it hadn't been for you and what's the other guy called now? What's he called? Connor Phillips, who gave me good advice.
Excellent.
And I'm gonna miss, you know, and I won't be the only one, obviously.
Well, there'll be something in our stead, and quite frankly, it'll be, you know, the BBC don't do rubbish, so it'll be good, and it might even be better. Who knows? But let us hope.
Not without you.
Let us hope.
Not without you, Alan.
You can never tell.
No, I can for that. I can.
Okay, well, all right. Well, you're entitled to that view.
Yeah, I know. And if it was my way, I'd have you on and Connor, because I think the advice that you give is excellent. You know, when anybody comes on and they've got any problems and they feel able to share it, I think it's marvellous, because not everybody's able to do that, especially on air, because it's very, very, very difficult for a lot of people, which it was for me at the beginning. But if you put your trust in someone, and that's all you need. You know, there's other resources out there, we know that. But think with my problems and being able to share them on air, and I've heard other callers calling in saying good luck to me, to my sons, and vice versa, and I've done it to them because I know where they're coming from. And I think it's a lovely, lovely big family that we have around here that keeps the whole radio station going. And that's just my point of view. But
all right, Kathy, well, it's very valid, and I'm sure the team will pass on your comments to Connor. But lovely to hear from you. Have a good night. I'll do Martin.
Good evening, Alan. Can you hear me?
I can, yes, thanks.
You want me to bit from me head? Well, I have 3 points, Peter.
Okay.
Hang on, sorry. Sorry, my fault, not your fault. Hang on, get that way. Well, I have 3 points, well, I'm sorry there. I have 3 points, sir. One, I phoned up to speak about the pay review body that the government took a notice of yesterday, apparently.
Okay.
Sorry, turn that down a bit. Sorry, turn it back. Because they originally weren't listening to them. It's independent pay review body, I should have said. That was yesterday. And they now...
But which one? There are lots of pay review bodies. Which pay review body was it that you're referring to?
Independent pay review body.
Well, indeed, but what industry?
to do with the nurses and the doctors.
Right, okay.
Health
The NHS one, right.
Yeah, turn it down. Sorry. Yeah, to do with that, because I don't understand why they couldn't have sorted that out months ago. And now they're list.
Disputes always take time to resolve, and when they're finally resolved, everybody wonders why they didn't do that beforehand, but each of the parties in the dispute were trying to get the best deal.
That's in hindsight, Alan.
Well, in hindsight is how we operate when we're answering questions, why couldn't they beforehand? The reason they couldn't is because neither party agreed at the beginning with what should happen.
So why did the government decide for 5% pay rise and 1,000 whatever it was, one-off payment, and they're still on strike?
Well, I can't speak for why they're still on strike, but they've made their offer, and the unions at the moment appear not to like that offer, so they don't go back to work. That's the way strikes work.
Last bit on this one, and I've got two more, please. It won't be long. The unions do not do operations. The unions do not see patients. That's what annoys me.
Well, you really don't want to go into hospital to have your liver sliced up and have some bloke who's just walked in off the street but he's in the union.
No, but what I was trying to get at, that's what I meant, Alan. What I mean, Alan, sorry, is the unions aren't doing the medical procedures, but the unions seem to have control over their members.
Well, no, they don't. Before the unions can call a strike, they have to have a ballot, and the members are the only people that are allowed to vote in that ballot. And first of all, there's a threshold, the minimum proportion of people who cast their votes, members who cast their votes, and then there has to be a threshold for whether they take industrial action or not. So the unions don't call the shots. The unions do what the members say.
As far as I understand, unions are there for your vocal representative. That's what unions are for, aren't they?
Well, that is exactly what they're for. When they represent individuals when individuals require it, but when they're negotiating on the members' behalf with the employer, they do that collectively. And as I say, if they think the offer's worth having, they pass it to their members and say, do you want this? Are you happy with this? And if the members say no, and they say, well, what action do you wish to take? And again, it's democratically done.
I understand that for people that are members of the union, that have signed into the union. Not every any one of those employers don't have to sign into be a union member.
Well, the employer doesn't join the union anyway, but the employee isn't required to join. Of course
That's
not.
What I meant.
And,
That's what I meant.
And the union doesn't have the power to call the non-members out on strike. It only has the power to call the members on strike, and it only has that power because the members have given it that power in a ballot.
And that's when, as you say, that's when they have the vote. The other question I'd like to say quickly, please, Alan, is that a friend of mine, it's to do with the same situation because he was due for a liver transplant. He lives I'm in an apartment block, he lives in the same corridor, and he passed away today because he couldn't get the appointment. That's my issue over this union member and the ballot thing in the strike. That's my bugbear.
Well, it's easy to blame the members, but
I'm not blaming them, I'm blaming the system.
Well, the system is what gave him the opportunity, although it didn't pay off, but the system is what gave him the opportunity to have the operation in the first place. The system is what gave him his diagnosis. The system is what's got him this far. And because there is a break between the relationship of the union, or the membership, if you like, and the workers and the government, then the system takes a beat. And yes, people die because of that. But you can blame the union, you can blame the members, or you can blame the government.
I can blame all of them.
Indeed you can.
I've got one more question. I said to
that'll make it 4, so your counting's not good. It's all right, be quick.
Oh, I can... Sorry.
Just do it. Go on, quick.
So, another member where I live, his partner died on Wednesday. He told me on Friday. So that's another one gone.
Well, people die. It's there for all of us. It's my next big thing. I'll do John.
Hi, Alan. You okay?
I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say what a fantastic show you do. I really enjoy it. I'm going to miss you when you go, to be honest with you.
Well, it's a long way off, so...
That's all I wanted to say, to be honest with you.
Thank you. I'll do Louisiana.
Hi, Alan. It's Louisiana here. How are you this evening?
I'm awfully well, thank you.
Good. I hope you don't mind me doing this, Alan, but I want to use you as a bit of an agony uncle tonight. I'm not going to pretend it's a friend who has the problem. It's very definitely me that's got the problem, and I'd like to discuss that with you. Is that okay?
So far, yes.
Good. Alan, I'm in the very fortunate position of being able to say that my dad's still alive. Dear old dad, he's 85 and he's absolutely as bright as a button. I mean, he is really incredibly bright. He's able to read, write, and make fabulous conversation, and it's a joy to be with him. But about 6 months ago, it became apparent to us, and fortunately to Dad, that he needed a bit more assistance. He had a carer visit him once a day, which just wasn't enough. But to cut a long story short, he moved to a retirement complex near me, which is just about 7 minutes away, and it is absolutely fabulous, Alan. It's brilliant to have him so close. The accommodation is wonderful, and the support he's receiving is just incredible. To say he's thrived is an absolute understatement, because prior to his move, he was in a considerable pain. In fact, he needed a wheelchair. He went into the accommodation in a wheelchair. He has osteoarthritis, which is common in women, but men can have it too. I'm sure that with your medical background, you've probably come across men that have it, and they do have it too. He had several fractures in the spine and hip, hence the lack of mobility. But as I say, it's just incredible what has happened over the last 6 months. If I were religious, I'd say it was a miracle, but I'm not. So let's just say it's astonishing. But anyway, there is a problem. Here is the problem to his newfound mobility. But maybe you'll say it's not a problem, and maybe it's me just being a little bit silly. I'd like to try it out on you anyway. Dad wants to buy a car. He's obviously, as I've described, much better than he was 6 months ago, but I am worrying about him driving. As I said to you, he's 85, and whilst he is much better, he gets tired, probably has 2, if not 3 naps during the day. His legs are better, but nowhere near as strong as they might have been 10 years ago, or even 3 years ago. So I'm worried about not only his safety, but the safety of others too. I've tried to gently suggest he should go on some sort of refresher driving course to see if he can still drive and have the confidence. He hasn't driven for about 10 months or so. But also the area that we live in is about 3 hours away from where he used to live, so he does not know this area at all. So there are quite a few idiosyncrasies that he needs to know about, some one-way areas. Anyway, I suppose what I'm asking you is, Dad's a capable man, and whilst his mind is willing, his limbs are less able, let's say. There's no doubt that the car will give him some much needed independence, which can only be good. Depending on other people for transport, he says is awful, and I completely can understand that. But do you think I should encourage, discourage, or just leave it to be? Am I being irresponsible or responsible? What do you think?
I think in the end it's your father's choice. Have you considered all the different options? For example, why not suggest to him that he hires a car, if that's possible, and then go out with him for a run in that car and see how he copes?
I have done that, and it's been superseded. in that he's actually put a deposit. Yesterday, he put a deposit down on a car.
He's decided he's going to buy one, and
I know.
He's entitled to do so.
I mean, I absolutely agree, and I can see from the freedom point of view, it's wonderful. But his reactions, I worry, might not be the same as they were a few years ago. But maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm in the wrong, and I should.
You're not overreacting. You're caring, but in the end, it has to be his decision, and the only way you can prevent that against his will is by getting him declared unfit to drive.
Yeah. Now that would be terrible. That would be sort of.
Well, it wouldn't be. It'd be. It depends on how worried you are. If you think that would save his and somebody else's life, it's not terrible. But he's not likely to think, well, that was a good idea.
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, it's so tricky. It is a very difficult situation. I really don't want to be telling him what to do. This is my dad, and I respect him an awful lot. But obviously, at the same time, I'm worried about other people. Fortunately, it's an automatic car that he's going to get, so that's a bonus. But it is his life and it's his choice. But he's got a fractured spine. He can't bend down to lift things up and so on. If he did go out, he would have to be able to lift his trolley that he needs, his sort of walking frame trolley on wheels, into the boot and so on. And I said to him the other day when they were coming, sorry, go on, Alan, you say.
Well, you've either got to say it's his choice, he's getting on with it, or you've got to say to him, I'm going to tell your doctor that you're doing this, and your doctor could say that you're not fit to drive. But unless there is, because we were talking earlier about renewal of driving licences. When you're over the age of 70, you have to renew your driving licence every 3 years, and in that you have to say that you are still fit to drive. Now it's self deciding. You decide whether you're fit to drive or not, and some people say that's perhaps not the best plan, but that's what it is. And so you've either got to get him prevented from driving by an authority that has that power, or you've got to persuade him out of it. Or you've got to say it's his life.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, or say it's his life. I think I'm too scared is the wrong word, but I would not want to upset my dad. I'm sure that you would have felt like this with either of your parents. He's had a tough few years. He cared for my mother through dementia, and she, that was incredible that he did that for over 10 years. And he's done so well. I don't want to take something away from him, but it's just been a tricky to sort of year or so getting him here. And he's, again, a very big move for him at that stage of his life. 85 years old, to move from everything he knows to somewhere else. But you've been a great help, Alan. I think I know where I'm going to go, and thank you for listening to me.
That's why I'm here. Have a good night. How do George?
Hello, Alan. What I'd like to speak about, Alan, I know it's very sad, but that submarine what went down to see the Titanic, I think it's all wrong for them to do that in the first place, because it's like opening a grave or going in the pyramids and taking photos of different things. I think it's all wrong, and I think there's like a curse on them things when you send anything down like that. They should have been left as they are. The Titanic, it's like a graveyard. It should be left. What do you think, Alan?
I understand the point of view. I don't have the same respect, regard, whatever the right word is, for dead people and things. They're dead, they can't feel anything, so what are we giving respect to? I don't know. I don't have a view. I find it weird that we have this strange respect for people. I think it's horrible when people destroy graveyards, because those whose grave, or the bereaved of the graved person, will be hurt by it. But the corpse won't be, the dead. So I don't have that view, that we should never, ever go near anything that somebody died in. It's a strange thing, really.
Yeah, I see what you mean, Alan.
You know, if there's a road traffic accident and 5 people die, are you suggesting? I know you're not, but would it be right to suggest that we close that road because people died here? We don't want you driving through it. People died here. Show a bit of respect. Go all the way round. And in about 10 years' time, every road in the country will be closed.
Yeah, but I don't think that they will ever send any more submarines down to look at that Titanic again. I don't think so.
They just won't send any made out of that stuff, probably, but there are other submarines that go down. They're not the first to go and examine the Titanic, or what's left of the Titanic. The stuff has even been brought up from the Titanic. China and stuff like that's been brought up. So there will be others that will go down. They'll just be in different submersibles than Titan was, which by many people's measure, and I know nothing, but by many people's measure wasn't really suitable for...
Yeah, thanks very much indeed, Alan.
My pleasure, George. I'll do Neil.
Oh, hello, Alan. I'd just like to mention about the weather lately, the rain and that, because it's been persistently. It's now persistently raining now in Blackburn, where I am, and it's been doing this for about the last 2 weeks. You know, I don't mean a bit like a large downpour. So I mean, I love the rain. I think it's either. I know that some people might not like it. You know, if you're living in certain areas, you know, certain parts of the country where you get flooded. I understand that, because I'm on my Carlisle. Was it about 4 years ago in Carlisle in Cumbria? That was when they got flooded.
They get flooded from time to time, as do lots of towns that are on the sort of sea end of a river. It's kind of almost inevitable these days that you know, York used to get flooded every year.
Yes, I mean, I love the rain. I mean, look, in Blackburn, I don't think we get flooded. You know, even in the town centre, you know, where Radio Lancashire is, I live on the top, but even in where Lancashire is, in the valley, it doesn't flood. You know, because it's just that way. You know, it comes out. So it's great. Yeah. So I was thinking as well with that. I mean, I love the rain and that when it comes on. But I mean, why do they still? Because they're still doing all the floodplains. That why are they building new houses on floodplains? I think they are. They still do. You know, and then but they're going to get flooded. Yeah, well, just asking why do they do it? They still, I think.
Well, the people who do it for the money.
Yeah.
They want to sell houses, and so that's why they do it.
But should they be allowed to?
Well, the trouble is, if you say you can't build on floodplains, then it depends on how you define a floodplain. What is a floodplain? Everywhere has the possibility of being a floodplain.
Well, no, top of Blackpool Tower is not.
Perhaps.
Yeah, not top of the hill's not going to be a floodplain, you know.
Well, like I say, but you can't build every house on the top of the hill. Some of them have got to be on a bit below the hill.
I understand that.
So if you say you must never build on a floodplain, then there will be thousands of houses that won't get built, and quite a lot of people want a house. Heaven knows why.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. But you take the chance to get to be flooded, and you won't get insurance. I mean, you know what the insurance, they won't insure you because you build on a possible flood. You're going to be possibly flooded. That was just what I thought. Anyway, but
I said.
Sorry, yeah, Alan.
I certainly wouldn't buy a house on a floodplain, but others will.
Yeah. But so that's it. So I just got the one because I did. Because I was walking through Blackburn yesterday, opposite Radio Lancashire. Yeah, and there's a vagrant that was inside one of the door shops. You know, the empty ones. Yeah, and he almost like, you know, but he was inside and he was playing the guitar, and it was it's raining again by you know, David Ram. I said I put money in his cab. I said that's super, tramp. He said thanks very much. Thank you.
Have a good night. How do Chris?
How does yourself?
Very well, thank you.
Yep, I'm glad. I just wanted to ring up about I think you were talking about organ harvesting before. And my granddad died recently. And I just went to see him today, you know, in the Chapel of Rest. And it got me thinking about what actually happens after you die. And looking at him, he looked like a statue. He didn't look like a person anymore. And I think that your physical body, once you've passed away, it's just material. And when I'm dead, I'd like... This is something a bit esoterical. But you know what the Vikings believed? And I believe this to be true myself. That you live on through your memory. Other people remembering you and talking about you. That's your everlasting soul. And I think that is very true. Because myself, when I die, I'd like to have a little memorial, and I'd want people to talk about me. And the rest of my body, though, it's elements. I'd like my skull to be kept.
Just meat.
Yeah, well, you said meat. Right. I would quite happily have like me thighs and my arm muscles saved up at my funeral buffet, so people can see what I tasted like.
Well, indeed, yeah. That's actually illegal, regrettably for you, but
is it?
But yeah, it's an interesting thought. Yes,
not even if I put it in my will.
Not even if you put it in your will, it would still be against the law for the person who decides to do it to consume you.
I'd have to look into that, because I'm not.
I'm
not saying you're a liar, but I don't see why it would be illegal, because nobody's killed me.
It's called cannibalism, and cannibalism is illegal.
I don't think that's against the law.
Oh, I think you'll find it is.
What about when I eat parts of my own dry skin?
Well, you're not being cannibal then, because you're eating yourself, if you like, and that's permissible, I guess. But what you can't do is eat somebody else.
But I thought the only thing that was wrong about that was the killing of somebody else, not the actual consumption.
No, the killing is wrong in its own right.
I'll have to look that up, because I don't quite... That doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not saying you're a liar.
Fine.
But
no, that's fine.
But also, the rest of my body, use it for what it's useful for. You know, I think that hasn't every human got a gram of gold in the body or something daft like that?
I've heard that we have a variety of precious metals within us, but how much of it and how obtainable it is from the corpse is a different point altogether.
Yeah, well, we'll need facilities to process all those things, and they'll probably work not just on a person-by-person basis, but you'd need lots of people to do that, to get like substantial amounts of precious metals and calcium and whatnot. But after that, all I want people to remember me, my friends and family, and anyone who's been in touch with me. And I'd like a memorial made out of my skull and part of my skin tanned and written on it, at least he tried.
Well, that's fine. I can tell you that there is no specific law against cannibalism. However, it is outlawed under laws such as the Human Tissue Act, which covers England, Wales and Northern Ireland, and legislates against the possession of human tissue without consent. And you can't give consent, as far as I'm aware, for you to have it, for somebody else to have it for dinner.
Oh, so nobody can give a consent?
Not to have it for dinner. There was a man...
Right.
There was although this is a bad example because it was...
Are you going to talk about that Austrian or German cannibal?
Yeah.
Murderer?
What went wrong then was the killing of...
I had to murder somebody.
Well,
even though he said, you can murder me.
That was the point, in that the bloke said, I want someone to eat me, in much the way you just have. And he was prepared to be killed to have that happen. But, I mean, we're talking Germany here, or Austria, it wasn't here. But that was deemed to be illegal anyway. But, of course, the killing would have been illegal anyway in most countries.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting thought.
I don't want no one to kill me, but if I'm already dead, I don't mind if people eat me legs.
Well,
so I'll be dead.
Indeed so. We do know of a few cases. There's the famous one of the Chilean rugby team who crashed in the Andes.
The aeroplane crashed,
and they resorted to cannibalism, and there was severe outrage about it, but I'm not sure that any of them were ever jailed for it.
No, and their argument was they were all Catholics, and I'm a Catholic myself. When you go to Mass and take Holy Communion, that bread is transubstantiated into the flesh of Christ.
Well, that is the biblical interpretation that Roman Catholicism puts on that, yes.
So if it's okay to eat Christ's flesh, why can't we eat other people's flesh who've willingly given it to us?
Well, again, I don't recommend anybody tries it, but you're okay. It will be an interesting funeral supper at your house. But good to talk to you, Chris. Have a good night, mate. 0800 218 2255. If you want to join us, feel free. What do you want to happen to you when you've snuffed it? I'm perfectly happy for them to take whatever they want, any bit of it or the whole lot of it. It really doesn't matter to me, and it won't matter then because I'll be dead. But of course it will be my survivors who make the decision. If it's my wife, it will be she or some other. Might even be my brother or my sister, but it will be somebody else who will make the final decision. And I suppose Chris was referring to what I said at the beginning, and that is that 3,400 bereaved people last year, I think it was, refused to have the organs of their loved one removed and donated to somebody that needed them. Despite the fact, this is the important bit of it, despite the fact that the bereaved, whilst still alive, said they do want their organs to be used. And 3,400 people, as is their right, overturned that decision. There you go. How do Ted?
All right, Alan, just to say, people that hear voices, spirits like, or people that see spirits, them people are called transcendental.
Okay.
And it's being in touch with an energy force. Now there's a book out, it's on audio. It's called Becoming Supernatural, Becoming Supernatural. And it's all about the magnet. It's all about the magnet. It's all about the magnet in the body.
Right.
soft up them. And you can get pain away with thinking on the magnet where the pain is and think, go away, and bless it and tell it to go away, and it'll go away. Some people have done this thing and they've got tremendous pain and that. Agonies, couldn't move or nothing, and they've started moving through doing this process. It's in the book called Becoming Supernatural. Thanks, Tom.
Have a good night. If it's in a book, it must be true. 0800 218 2255. Going to talk to Tony after we've listened to That Bad. 0800 218 2255. You want to join us, you're more than welcome. You can talk about anything. We've already demonstrated that with various things, including people who want to eat each other. One person who would like his legs to be eaten when he's dead. Obviously, not before then. Somebody else talking about the mini-sub. And one or two people say they like the programme, which is always disturbing. But 0800 218 2255, if you want to join us, that's good. How do Tony?
Well, are you okay?
I'm very well, thank you.
You've had a good show tonight. Some great calls coming in.
Okay.
Going back to the cannibalism, the first point, you said it was from Chile. I think you'll find they were Argentinian.
Okay.
It was a rugby team.
Hmm.
I think did they go 90 days without food?
I don't remember the exact details, but it was something in that in that order.
You've seen the film, have you? No.
Yeah, I've seen the film and I've actually read the book as well.
Oh, well done. I know they all met after, but they never spoke about what they'd eaten.
Hmm.
But that's what kept them alive.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we have to presume.
Yeah. Second point, that lady that spoke, was it Louisiana, about her dad driving?
Mm-hmm.
Has he considered getting a Rolls Royce of the mobility scooter?
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be much use, depending on where he wanted to travel. If he wanted to drive to London, I think those scooters would take far too long.
I'm just thinking about him having his independence around the local area. 20-mile radius. If he needs to go further, he can get on the public transport.
Well, the issue the lady was concerned about was his ability to drive. Whether that's to Argentina and back or not is irrelevant. You're just as likely to have an accident close to home if you are not competent to drive, and that was her fear. She wondered if he was competent.
Okay. My point tonight, Alan, is fish.
Okay, before you do go on to fish, the rugby players were from Uruguay.
All right. Well, the film said Argentina, or the Argentinian rugby team.
Well, okay.
So, that, I'm not about that. But, yeah, that's the region, wasn't it? South American.
Well, yeah, but that's a big place, you know. They crashed in Chile, and they were from Uruguay. Anyway.
Back to the fish.
What fish?
Do you remember the 60s when you went into a chippy, you could get many sorts of fish?
No, I don't remember. I don't remember them having cod.
Do you not remember plaice and egg?
Yeah, but I remember those fish existed, but if you went into a fishmonger, you could get those. We had a lot of fishmongers in Warrington. We had a whole fish market. But the chippies, and my auntie had one, the chippies, as far as I remember, just served cod.
Oh, well. The chippies I went in the 60s, they served about 4 different types.
Right.
And the complaint was they give you too much fish and not enough chips.
Good Lord.
Can you believe that?
I think it would be hard to believe, given that fish is considerably, and even then was more expensive than potatoes, so they wouldn't be doing themselves any... the companies wouldn't be doing themselves any favours, would they?
No, I just think there was an abundance of fish. And
well, there may well have been an abundance, but the abundance of fish didn't outnumber, if you like, the abundance of potato.
Well, I could see people complaining, give me some more chips and less fish. I've
no way of... I would have to ask my aunt, and her dying not long after the 1960s gets in the way of that, but I can't imagine anybody trying to make a living in a chip shop by selling too much fish and not enough potato.
I'm hoping that some of the callers will come on and back me up.
Right.
But that's the start of it. Now we've got our waters back from Europe. We should have another abundance of fish.
Well, there would have to be an abundance of fish for us to have an abundance of fish. And the problem...
Well, we've only got 10%, the French were getting 90. So we can have our 90 back now, can't we?
It would seem not, because I don't think the fishing rules have changed that much yet.
Well, what's taking time with that then?
I don't know. I don't know what's taking time, but there's quite a lot of stuff involving our membership of Europe that has still not been resolved. The one that gets the most frequent comment is, of course, the situation in Northern Ireland. So what's taking the time? I think it might be the inability of them to agree. It might be that they were just waiting for the rules that existed at the time to move on, and if you like, the agreements to expire.
That's all right. So what's stopping the Navy stopping all these ships going fishing in our waters?
Well, what's stopping the Navy stopping ships fishing in our waters is whether A, we've got enough Navy to do that, and B, whether these ships fishing in our waters are doing so illegally or not.
Well, if they're in a 12-mile radius, was it a 12-mile radius? They're illegal.
Well, I don't know whether 12 miles is the right number, but also I don't know what the fisheries rules are. I feel sure that the Royal Navy would implement the laws that exist, but I don't know what those laws are. So what is stopping our Navy from fleets coming into areas where you don't want them would depend on whether they were doing so illegally or not.
Well, I just believed they were doing it illegally, Alan, when we got out of Europe.
Well, you of course, Tony, you are entitled to believe what you like, but until the Prime Minister starts ringing you up and asking you what he should do, I think we'll all go with the general rule rather than the ones that you think should exist. That's just me.
Okay, Alan, thanks, mate.
My pleasure. Have a good night. 0800 218 2255. If any sea fishermen are listening, I don't mean them with a rod and line, I mean the proper ones with the trawlers and all that crap, and you know the answer to that, then please get in touch. But there is talk just recently. We had the Cod Wars a long time ago, maybe in the early 80s, was it? Where we bullets were fired across the bows, as it were, of Icelandic shipping vessels that were shipping, it was thought, were fishing in our area, and so there was that big row. And there is talk of other rows developing in the non-too-distant future. Whether that will result in changes or whether it will result in what we might call the North Sea fish wars or whatever, I don't know. How do, Gary?
All I know about fish, when you go in the chippy, they've been battered.
Ah, that's true. Most of the time.
Can you tell me how would a rugby team come from St Helens on the way back to Catalan and end up nearly in Portugal?
No idea.
Because Catalan went home back to Catalan and nearly ended up in Portugal and took 26 hours to get home.
Right.
How do you manage that?
I have no idea.
I thought you knew the question.
I do know the question. It's the answer I don't know.
How come you're not happy now Warrington are not winning?
I don't really understand that question. I don't really care that much whether Warrington do or do not win.
I thought you was a Warrington fan.
Well, I'm a rugby fan, and I find it pleasing when Warrington win, but I've said many times on this programme I'd rather watch a good game that Warrington lose than a poor game that Warrington win. I'm a rugby fan.
Ask me why I'm made up when Warrington lose.
I don't care, so why would I bother asking you?
I know the answer. It's because I'm a witness supporter.
Fair enough.
Are you going to be watching the England women playing the World Cup?
Possibly. It depends what time it's on and what I'm doing. When does it start?
The first game's next Saturday morning at 10:30 in the morning next Saturday.
Well, I almost certainly won't be watching that.
Why?
I have lots of things that I do in the mornings.
Is that because you're on in the evening on the radio?
No, the mornings have existed throughout most of my life, and I've always been quite busy in the morning.
So when you due to go on holiday again for the other people to take over?
I'm not.
When does your contract finish? In August?
No.
When?
I don't have one.
I thought your contract finishes in August, you were telling people on the phone.
No, I didn't.
Your contract, what should have finished in May? When does it finish then?
It ended in May.
So you haven't got another contract?
That is correct.
So how come you're still working on the phones? On the radio then?
I have a programme-by-programme contract.
What's that mean?
It means I am contracted to perform a programme, and then when it's finished I get contracted to perform another one, and I'm on a verbal agreement, which is a kind of contract, that will continue until the end of August at the earliest. But we haven't done a formal contract because we don't know when the programme will come to an end.
You're too good of a man to be finishing on the radio.
Well, I'm neither here nor there with that. I am what I am, and I will do what I do.
Because if I don't ring you up to talk to you, I listen to your programme on Radio Manchester, Merseyside.
Right.
Have you never thought of being a football commentator?
No.
Can I ask you another question before you go?
I'm not going, you are, but yes.
Can you tell me why the umpires on the telly decide if it's a no ball and not the umpires on the pitch?
No, I can't. I've no idea.
So I'll let you get on, Alan, and have a good weekend, mate.
Thank you very much. 0800 218 2255. Why which umpires decide what is a no ball and what isn't? Who does? Who does what? There's so... Whatever happened to having a person at one end, a person at the other end, and they do all the deciding? All this review and... it's so bloody boring. It's spoilt games for me. They have it in rugby, they have it in football now, don't they? Oh, dear God. Just, if you don't trust the umpire, sack the beggar and get a different one that you do trust. The whole thing. And these people, footballers and rugby players, they get paid hundreds of thousands of pounds and make mistakes all the damn time. So why expect umpires and referees to be perfect? It's ludicrous. Said an impartial BBC person. 0800 218 2255. How do Paul?
Hello, Alan. This might be a bit of a tough one, but I'm really hoping you can give me a bit of advice. My father's in the care home. He's 88 years of age. We have a family member who's totally 1,000,000% against the COVID injection. Me and my brother decided, well, my dad chose as well, because he's still compos mentis. He's had a stroke, but he's still compos mentis, and he wanted the COVID injection. Now, every single thing that happens to my dad, whether he has a fall, he had a TIA, like a mini stroke, a few months ago, and this family member comes storming in, and they literally want to kill us because they love the granddad, but they are blaming everything. But he's 88 years of age, Alan, and we don't know how to control this family member. Can you give us any advice?
There are a variety of legal things that you can do, but what is the need to control them? First of all, they said, the word you used, I'm always worried about what people say. You said they literally want to kill us. Well, literally means that is definitely what they want to do. And
they threaten us. He's
threatened to murder you.
Well, not murder, but they threaten to beat us up.
Right.
Because we put this into the granddad. We put this stuff into the granddad.
Doesn't really matter why he threatened to harm you, that or she, that is a criminal offence.
Yeah.
So report them to the cops.
But it's so hard to live in a family life. Well, me and my brother are doing everything we can for my dad. And if he has a fall, this family member blames us for putting this COVID.
You have one view, your other family member has a different view. And you think you're doing the best for your relative, and they also think they're doing the best for their relative. Now, if you are in dispute, then fine, you've got your father protection that you think he needs, and the drivelling stupidity of your cretinous relative is irrelevant. But if they threaten violence, then you must report them to the police to get that stopped. If you simply want them to have nothing more to do with your grandfather, then you can seek a court injunction prohibiting them from having further contact with your father, or even with you and other members of the family, if you want to go to that extreme.
I know, but it's just so hard, Alan. When, like I said to you when I first rang up, my dad's compos mentis. We asked him if he wanted the COVID injection. He said yes.
Right. Well,
so we give him the COVID injection.
The issue isn't whether he wanted it, because that's now gone. You say that this person has threatened you with violence. Well, that's a crime.
But it's so hard to deal with within the family, Alan, if you know what I mean.
Well, it's only hard if you want to make it hard. It's not hard if you simply say, you have threatened us with violence. If it happens again, we're calling the cops. And they'll say, I'll never speak to you again. And I'd say, result.
Yeah. I see, but I understand that, Alan, I really do, but it just seems so hard to do it, because that's my brother's child, if you know what I mean.
Then your brother
But
needs
not a child. You know, the 19.
One is always the child of the parent. That's how it works, parent to child. One is always, you might be 73, you're still a child of your parent. So your brother is the one perhaps that should say, look, behave yourself. But if they don't, that's fine. They're adults, they're 18, so if you threaten violence again, we'll call the cops. And if you think, well, we don't want to do that, then fine, just put up with them either. You've either got to do something about it or nothing.
I know, it's just so hard with me and family, though, Alan. I mean, he's been in trouble with the police. You know,
that's his problem.
So hard, though.
Well, life can be hard. If you want someone to stop doing what they're doing, then you've got to tell them.
You've got to stand up to them,
Well, or else you've got to give in to them, or else you've just got to carry on and get them mithered at.
No, you can't. You can't give in to them. No.
But you either give in to them or you stop. Right? Just tell them more violence, threats, and the cops get called. And they'll call you a rude name, and you say, "Fine, we're still calling the cops if you threaten violence."
No, but this one's prepared to go to actual physical violence. You know, we don't want that in the family.
I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. Then either don't give in to them or do give in to them. There is no middle ground.
No, I'm not giving in.
They sound a bit stupid and not able to be negotiated with. So who's the direct relative to your father? Your father.
You can't negotiate with them, Alan.
Okay, so your father, who you say is
grandchild.
Your father. Let me finish the sentence. It might help you. Yeah. Your father, who you say is still compos mentis, has the power to say to the care home, "Don't let that person in again."
Yes, maybe so. Yeah.
There's no maybe. He does have that power if he's compos mentis. Yeah. If not, those who are acting legitimately on his behalf can do it also.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. We're just in a hell of a state here.
Well, yes, indeed.
But thank you.
But that's because you think there's a happy solution. There isn't. You've got an idiot in your family, so treat him like an idiot.
Yes. I totally agree with you, Alan. We have got an idiot in the family.
Then treat them like an idiot and stop expecting them to become sensible. Have a good night, Paul. How do Doggy?
Hello?
Hello.
Is that Mr. Allan Beswick?
It is.
This is Doggy. I just wanted to ask you, have you got a referendum for your employment?
A referendum?
Yeah.
I don't even know what you mean. Do you mean...
well, you know, a vote to say that you're not to go.
Not that I'm aware of, and I wouldn't be involved in such a thing anyway.
You wouldn't?
No.
Oh, well, is there any other way it can be done?
Well, can it be done? There are ways that you can complain, but frankly, the BBC in the end has the obligation to and has the right to choose what programmes will and what will not exist. Now, they have decided, and some people agree with it, some people disagree with it, they have decided that they're going to change the structure of local radio. And one of the things they're going to do is to save some money on the radio side and put that money into the internet side and provide a better service via the internet. But that will mean that they've got to save some money on the radio side, and that means losing 40 individual programmes late at night and having one instead. And there is a logic in that decision. Now, some people will disagree with it, some people will agree with it, but that's a logical thing to do. The world is turning into everybody accessing everything they want on the internet.
Oh, thank you. Just one more question, Alan.
Okay.
Would you mind being called AB?
I don't care. It's not my name, so I wouldn't answer if somebody said,
AB. Allan Beswick.
Yes, I know what the A and the B stand for, but I'm not called AB.
You'd rather have Allan Beswick?
I don't care.
You don't care? Okay. Thank you, Allan.
Okay. Have a good night. 0800 218 2255 if you want to join us. We used to have a butcher. My mum and dad, well, my mum mainly, had a butcher called Abe in Warrington at Shaw's Butchers in Orford Lane. Abe. If I remember correctly, he was a diminutive fellow with, I think he even had a beard. Yeah, I can't remember now. It was a long time ago, you know. It's just, come on, leave me alone. It's, what, 70 years ago. Dear me. 0800 218 2255. If you wish to join us, you can. Pick up your phone, have your say, talk about absolutely anything. I see the Just Stop Oil clowns have been out and about again. They've disrupted the BBC proms. When are these tosspots going to realise that they're just self-important nobodies making not a jot of difference to the oil industry, and indeed to those of us who recognise that oil needs to be around for a good while yet? What makes them think they have the right to spoil people's entertainment just so they can get their point across? Everyone a tosspot. How do, Glenn?
Hello, Barry. How you doing? All right, Jack?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
What are you down there? This war with Russia, it doesn't seem to be any better, does it? And Putin seems to be winning, doesn't he?
No.
What is RAF going to fight Russia?
No.
Well, I've heard they are.
Okay, well, in your mind, yes, but no.
Because on my phone, it says our RAF are ready to fight Russia.
Well, when you say, are they ready to fight? When you say they're ready to fight them, they went, well, we're ready, but they're not going to fight them.
Yeah. Because you know where President Putin,
yes,
he's saying, if we do go in, we will not win.
Well, he's bound to say that, isn't he, really? He's not like, please don't do that, because I'll lose if you do.
Yeah. Joe Biden, the US president, what's he doing? He's just, the other week, I saw him shaking, he was in London shaking Prince Charles' hand. What was that?
Well, he was meeting the head of state. He's the head of state of the United States. King Charles is the head of state of the United Kingdom.
Yeah, because the USA and Britain, we have a good relationship, don't we? We're like friends, don't we?
Well, we're not enemies.
That's right, yeah. But what is that? You've told me before, Putin will not let off nuclear weapons. What do you say to that? Do you think there's any chance in this world in the next 20 years that I'm not going to happen?
I don't think anyone in the next 20 years will use a nuclear weapon. I mean, there are by that I mean an interballistic nuclear weapon.
He's threatening to. Wait on. He's threatening to, wouldn't he?
Well, he keeps saying, "Remember, I've got them," which some people interpret as a threat.
But what he's on, I can't see an end to this war.
No, you can never see the end to a war.
It's nearly World War III. It's nearly World War III, isn't it?
No, it's nowhere near World War III. It's a big country fighting a little one, and the little one's holding its own with a lot of help in terms of weaponry from a load of big ones.
So, did you say to me, Alan, you don't think our RAF are going in?
That is exactly what I said.
Well, on my phone it says they are.
Well, choose who you wish to believe.
You know, the Ukraine fighters, how are they doing? I believe that they're getting territory. The Russian soldiers are backing down. Is that right?
In some areas, yes, but they're not gaining a lot of territory. It's a very slow process.
You mean the Ukraine fighters aren't getting a lot of territory, is them?
That is correct. That is exactly what I mean. They're not making.
Well, I think Putin is a very evil man. He does not care who he hurts or kills, and something needs to be done. Will Putin not sit there and talk?
Currently, no.
So I think there's no choice but to go in. Because,
we do have a choice, and that is to not go in.
Will Putin get done for war crimes or not?
It's hard to know. He's already been convicted in his absence, or at least a warrant has been issued for his arrest if he enters a country that is not a Russian supporter. But they won't. No one's going to go into Russia and arrest him at this stage.
So, I hope it's not the end of the world, then. And all these nuclear like that.
Well, I think you're right to hope it's not the end of the world, but rest assured that if it is the end of the world, you won't know about it.
Well, it'll be a very frightening experience for everyone, including you.
Well, it won't be frightening at all. You won't know about it.
But do you learn wills now?
Sorry?
You leave wills, though, wills.
Well, one does leave, one does make a will. But,
the nuclear bomb might land your house off.
Well, it might, yes, in which case the will be the least of the worries.
I have a nice one.
I try my best. How do Martin?
Good evening, Alan, again. Second time this evening. How are you doing?
Well, it's not changed much since earlier, so...
Okay, all right, very philosophical answer. I was just thinking of a question. I have one question for you, two questions, but one question. The previous presenter, with his surname, is he related to the sports presenter that did the World Cup in 1996, Wilson Hope?
I have no idea.
I think it's a good question. I'm actually got the website on my TV at the moment, and his name is William Wilson Hope. Right. Spelling is, but it's not over yet. It is now. I thought that was a fair question. You don't know the answer. That's it. I've just posed you a question, but if you don't know, you don't know.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks very much for the answer.
My pleasure. Have a good night. 0800 218 2255. This may surprise other people, but I don't know who is related to who in the broadcast industry. I know very few people within the broadcast industry. The only ones I know are the ones I've met, and given that most of my career has been in either Preston or Manchester or Salford, I've only met the ones around there, and not all of them. 0800 218 2255. We don't all live in a big house together, you know. If you want to join us, you can. This song is actually relevant at the moment. She was on the telly tonight, this woman that Michael Jackson's talking about. She was on the telly. She sat next to Navratilova. Yeah. All dressed up in their finery because they were sat next to our future queen. Yeah. There you are. Billie Jean. Do you think there'll ever be one for, the Scottish fella? Think there will? No, I don't either. Well, it might be. Andy Murray. No, it's not going to work, is it? Right. He said the other day in an interview that when he finally does retire, and let's be honest, that can't be too far off now, he's not going to turn up at Wimbledon again next year, is he? And get walloped out early doors. He's not going to do that. And, I mean, he's an incredible fella. And his resilience is enormous, and his ability to cope with pain seems extraordinary. But he's not going to turn up at Wimbledon next year and get wellied out early doors. So we've probably seen the last of him at Wimbledon. And he was interviewed with that kind of implied question. and he seemed to say that when he finally does retire, he won't be doing commentary. He's not going to go, like McEnroe. McEnroe's brilliant at it, but he's not going to go like McEnroe and the others and start, Chrissy Everts and the like, and start beating his gums on the idiot box about, they're doing that there. See that white line there? They nearly missed that. They're not going to do that, is he? He's got too much going on. But he has got a lot of clobber he's got, because he has his own company, doesn't he, selling sports clobber, with AMC, Andy Murray Company. Yeah, very strange. Who knows? It's only tennis anyway, it's only a game. 0800 218 2255 to join us. I'll do Adam.
Oh, okay.
Very well, thank you.
Good. I hear now that you're living in North Wales. Have you ever been to Penmon, at the back of Beaumaris, and it takes you right down to the coast, and then the next part is in the sea, the Puffin Island? I don't think you've been to that part yet.
Yes.
And how did you find it?
Well, I went past Beaumaris and went along the road a bit and then turned right.
No, I mean, was it interesting? Because it seemed interesting. There's an abbey, I believe, and there's a toll gate and all sorts of stuff.
It was quite interesting. There's an abbey. Well, is it an abbey? Certainly there's an old broken down building that was some kind of institution. So there's that, and it's interesting.
Was the cafe open when you went?
Which cafe?
None.
I don't remember. When you arrive, it's on the right hand side, isn't it, in an old building? But I don't remember whether it was open or not. That seems to have answered all your questions, which is fine by me. 0800 218 2255. If you want to join us, you can. Perhaps I shouldn't tell you this. Next time I want to go, it'll be packed. But there's a fabulous beach on Anglesey called Newburgh Beach. Yes, I know there are lots of places called Newburgh, but this one's on Anglesey, and it's on the left-hand side. I have trouble with north and south with Wales because it's a bit lopsided. And so you over the new bridge, the newer bridge, not new by any means. You go over the new bridge, and you turn left just as you come off it, and then you go a bit and you turn left again, and you go a bit and you turn left again, I think. And you eventually get to this Newburgh Beach where you go through a toll barrier that takes a recording of your registration number. You park up. It's a gorgeous beach, absolutely wonderful. I went there this week. When did I go? Tuesday, I think. Absolutely, and it was a lovely day as well. We were expecting it to rain, but it was all sunshine. We had some people with us, so we went, the four of us, and brilliant. We didn't go in the sea. We didn't build sandcastles. We're not those sort. Well, I'm not that sort of person. Beaches are things you walk along at best, but that one you can go to a sticky out bit that at low tide you can walk there, and at high tide it's an island. And sometimes, because they use them to keep the undergrowth down, sometimes there are wild horses on there. Yeah. But I don't mean angry, just wild. They won't let you anywhere near them, the horses. You go near them, they skedaddle. Well, I don't blame them either. But, people were feeding them bloody Mars bars and all sorts, weren't they? So I did that, and that was very nice. And, and I pulled an hamstring climbing some rocks. Like bloody hell. No wonder footballers roll about when they do it. Dear God, it was painful. But it's not now. Any road, you don't care, and I can't say I blame you. 0800 218 2255. You want to join us? Good, because we want you to. Otherwise, you'll just have me blathering on about what's in the papers. And it's fairly predictable what's in the papers. The Observer says that the Metropolitan Police shared crime victims' sensitive data with Facebook. The Metropolitan Police seem unable to get anything right at the moment. They seem to make absolute clowns of themselves every single time. Also on the front page, Starmer tells the party we can't spend our way back to power. OK, then. Sunday Telegraph, new homes must have green road schemes. Watchdogs suggest developments require ULEZ-style traffic restrictions to be approved. ULEZ being that thing that they're trying to get in London, and the London Mayor is getting quite a kicking over it. So there's that in the papers tomorrow morning. If you're that way inclined, have a shufty at that. Ex-soldiers to join a surge force as the regular army shrinks. They can't get enough recruits in the army, so they're going to target ex-soldiers, it would seem. And if they get in touch with me, the answer is no. I've done my bit, I'm not doing it again, and I'm too old. Doctors' pay demands means cut to frontline services, say the Treasury. That's what they always say. Of course, it isn't necessarily the case. It is the government's decision. You know, if you make us pay doctors more, then we will put less somewhere else, and that somewhere else will be elsewhere in the health service. And you can see the logic of it, but to say that is the consequence, the direct consequence, no, that is a government decision. They could put more money into the health service if they so desired, but they choose not to, and many people would agree with them. James Bond is going to hunt down a psycho scumbag robot, according to the Daily Star. Always a cheerful news story there. The Sunday Mirror, call the midwife love split. Helen George and Jack Ashton have parted ways. The pair who met on the set to co-parent 2 daughters, and they've split. Parents who met on set to co-parent. Oh, I see. Yes, they're going to co-parent their 2 daughters. Yeah, that's the one. Yes, that makes sense. Right, the Sunday Express, 12 trillion Brexit trade boost, they say. Britain joins the top table as we sign a lucrative deal with a vast bloc. Britain clinched a huge Brexit breakthrough early today with the signing of a £12 trillion deal with the trade lot, which is nice. George can skip stint in forces. Breaking with centuries of tradition, the prince can choose his own path to the throne, William and Kate tell friends. In other words, they're not going to make him become a squaddy of some sort. Because they all do, don't they? They all have a bash. All the sons have a bash in the forces, which you might say is a perfectly honourable thing for them to do. But, you know, if he doesn't want to do it, what's the point of making him? The Sun, Ace Mendy, not guilty of rape. That's the former Manchester City player, of course. And the Spice Girls are becoming one again. The 5 become one. Apparently, Posh is joining them up, rejoining, and they're going to do a couple of gigs, I guess, and also are in line for Glastonbury on the main stage. They could be the big act next year. It is thought they eye children being exposed to toxic levels of lead in school drinking water. Good Lord. And that's it, really. But, of course, one story that appears on all the front pages is today's tennis. And the outcome. The lady with the tattoos, the woman with the tattoos won, and the other woman didn't, because that's kind of how it works. And she's the first unseeded player to win, a first female unseeded player to win Wimbledon, apparently, in all its existence, which is quite an achievement. And one newspaper today explained all her tattoos, which are actually quite interesting. You know, it's not mum and dad and a dagger and all that crap that blokes have. And it's not one of them sleeve ones, but it's like lines. It's like a line drawing across her shoulders. And she's got the number 777, which is not the same as 666. It's 111 better. Well, there you are. So 111 better. Oh, dear me. Anyhow, there you are. It's very strange, but they're quite interesting tattoos. I don't normally like tattoos, but I like those. and it reminded me of the Muppets. Lydia, oh Lydia, I can't forget Lydia. Oh Lydia, the tattooed lady. Well, the tattooed lady is just from Wimbledon.
Lydia, say, have you met Lydia? Lydia, the tattooed lady. She has eyes that folks adore, so, and a torso even more. So Lydia, oh Lydia, that encyclopedia. Oh Lydia, the queen of tattoo. On her back is the Battle of Waterloo. Beside it, the wreck of the Hesperus too. And proudly above waves the red, white, and blue. You can learn a lot from Lydia. La da da, da da da, la da da, da da da. She can give you a view of the world in tattoo if you step up and tell her where. For a dime you can see Kankakee or Paris or Washington crossing the Delaware. La da da, da da da, doo 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 doo. Lydia, oh Lydia, say, have you met Lydia? Oh Lydia, the tattooed lady. When her muscles start relaxing, up the hill comes Andrew Jackson. Lydia, oh have you met Lydia? Oh Lydia, the champ of them all. She once swept an admiral clear off his feet. The ships on her hips made his heart skip a beat. And now the old boy's in command of the fleet, for he went and married Lydia.
So that's my personal tribute. We don't need him talking. Get on it. Get him out. We don't listen to a frog talking, for crying out loud. We've got some standards around here. They're not very high, but they're higher than that. But yeah, and so well, it's my tribute to the lady who won Wimbledon, the woman who, they hate being called ladies, the woman who won Wimbledon with the drawings on her body. Well, I hope she appreciates it. 0800 218 2255. You want to join us? Good. How do, Joe?
Hello, Alan. I just need some advice. Looking through some drawers earlier on tonight, I came across a number of old banknotes from all over the world. I used to be in the Merchant Navy, and I don't think they have any monetary value as such, but I'd like to get rid of them. I would imagine people collect them.
What are they?
Some people collect coins.
What do you have?
Banknotes.
Oh, banknotes. Yes, people do collect them.
Yeah. I was just wondering where to start. Are there any well-known agencies?
Well, there are people who collect coins, I think, are known as
numerologists or something.
Something like that, yeah. So perhaps if you got in touch with them, they some also collect banknotes. From time to time, there are auctions of banknotes, but they're usually fairly rare ones and ones that are in mint condition. All these sort of memorabilia and the like need to be in the best of condition for them to have any value, unless they are.
No, these aren't.
No, I mean, I don't collect them, but I have banknotes. You come back with £5 worth of banknotes, you're not going to turn them in, you can't be bothered. And I've got rupiah from Indonesia and a couple of things from the Maldives. They're not worth anything. They're not worth taking to the bank or a travel agent or something to get.
Yeah, I realise that, but I would like to get rid of them somehow. And I have the disadvantage of not being online. I'm still in the Ice Age. I don't have a computer, so.
Right. Well, there are banknote collectors, but whether they'd be bothered with something that's out of, that's in less than good condition is unlikely. And then, if it's $1 from 1924 and it's in mint condition, it might be worth summit, not a lot, but summit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the people you want are banknote collectors and banknote assessors, as it were. But they're few and far between in the north, I would imagine. There'll be a couple of them in London.
Right. I'll see what I can do. I'll try my local library then, or.
Yeah, I mean, that's a way. If you're not on the internet, the library is always a good place. They will have bits and pieces. Yeah, the Beginner's Guide, it's no good to you, but the Beginner's Guide to Banknote Collecting. Warwick and Warwick, auctioneers of collectibles. Collecting banknotes as a hobby gives thousands of people pleasure around the world. Known as notophily, collectors are often referred to notophilists. Collecting paper money may not be as popular as stamp or coin collecting, but it's just as interesting. So they don't seem to be saying they can sometimes be a great investment. And they tell a story in their own right, is what they're implying. Banknotes are beautiful, first of all. They're rich with cultural information. There are hundreds of subjects and themes. Each country has its own unique style. They can sometimes, they say, be a great investment, but often not. Apparently Marco Polo, according to this, brought some back from his travels and they caught on.
Very good.
So there you are. But the library's the place, really. Just looking at this organisation does valuations, banknote valuations. Yeah. Correctly identified and discover the true value of old paper money with a free and professional banknotes valuation. Warwick and Warwick is a firm. They're proud to be the leading provider of such things, making it as easy as possible to sell them. And on it goes.
And Warwick.
Warwick and Warwick.
Do they have a phone number?
Yeah, but that would be beyond my BBC responsibility to give it to you. You'd have to look it up.
Oh, of course you would, yeah.
Yeah, well, that would sound like I'm advertising them. But they look at English banknotes, Scottish, Irish, Jersey, Guernsey, Isle of Man, overseas banknotes. So there you are.
Right.
So they'd tell you whether they have any value.
These are Central America, Far East, Middle East, and most of Europe, including Eastern Europe, and the country that doesn't exist anymore, Yugoslavia.
Well, because it's gone, that might enhance them a little bit, because they won't be making anymore. But again, most people who collect paper things like stamps and the like are interested in the quality of it. And if they're not in good nick, they're considerably less value, if any value at all, than the ones that are in good nick. But, the other firms, I'm sure, do exactly the same job as the one we've already mentioned. I just happened to stumble across this on the internet.
Right. Well, thanks very much.
My pleasure. Have a good night.
Thank you.
0800 218 2255. There are other organisations that do so. There's a place called thebanknotestore.com. It's an international supermarket offering a huge range of British and world paper money for both beginners and advanced banknote collectors. So there. Kate's Paper Money. Oh, there's loads of it. There must be more people doing it than I first thought. 0800 218 2255. How do Bill?
Hello, Alan. I'm just letting you know, is there anybody through the National Health I can contact, because I come out of my chair in my home at 20 to 10 and I'm still on the floor. I'm just wondering who I need to contact.
Are you injured?
I've got a toe that's bleeding, but that's about all.
But you can't get up?
No, no. I'm paralysed from the waist down.
Right. Do you have a carer?
The Bean, and they see me like that, and they said they'll send an ambulance, but that was 2 hours ago.
Well, because you're not a chronic emergency, that is likely to be that long. But it is worth ringing for an ambulance yourself and seeing, your carer may well have forgotten? Was your cable not physically able to lift you back into your seat?
No.
No.
No, they don't. They're not allowed to do that on the road. Right.
Well, all I can say is that the people that will do it is the ambulance service, but of course they are overworked, and they say underpaid, but certainly overworked, and it's a case of when they can get round to you. Is there any medical condition that you have that being stuck on the floor, as it were, will be made worse?
My heart disease, that's all.
Yeah. I would ring the ambulance service yourself and explain the situation to them, and they will then decide what level of priority is needed to assist you.
Right, I'll do that then.
The very best of luck with it. Good luck to you. Cheers, Bill.
Okay.
0800 218 2255. How do, Sam?
Alan, you know rugby? You watch rugby, don't you? Is rugby ever a pointless game, like 0-0?
Yes.
Can it end with 0-0?
Yes.
Has that ever happened?
Yes.
Does it happen quite often? It happens quite often in football.
I can't speak for football. It doesn't happen very often in rugby.
So you could go 90... is it 90 minutes?
Yes. No, it's 80.
So you could go 80 minutes without pointless in rugby?
Well, it can, yes.
Oh, right. Does it happen? So did you say it happens often, or?
No, I didn't say it. I didn't say it happens often. You asked me if it had ever happened, if it can happen.
Yeah. Okay. So it can happen. Does it happen often?
No.
No. Have you seen a game when it's happened?
I don't remember seeing one, but I can't say categorically that I have not.
So I'd say the right word is very, very rarely it happens.
I'm not aware of it happening frequently.
Yeah, so it very rarely happens then. Because in football, it happens pointless. It's a pointless game, so a pointless game in football, it happens. But then, with football, there's so much more to it. It's very more interesting than a pointless game. Because a pointless game in the Premier League is still a point.
Well, it's only a point in the league.
Yeah, in the league. In a friendly, it's really pointless. Pointless in the terms of getting a point in a friendly, or in a.
Well, in a friendly, you don't. In a friendly, you don't really get any, do you? You don't get points anyway.
So football is not a pointless game because you reaches two penalties. If it's a cup final, you reaches the two penalties. If it's a cup in the latter stages of cup in a cup, just in a cup, it goes to penalties, extra time, and then penalties.
Right. So
you said you watched a pointless game. It must have been.
I didn't say I watched. I didn't say I watched a pointless game. I said I don't recall ever watching one.
No, you said a while ago. You said you watched a pointless game. I can't remember when. You said you watched. Well, it could have been pointless. Could have been the Premier League or something. Could have been England. Or
to whom are we referring? What game are we referring to now? When I'm supposed to have said this thing?
You said that a while ago. I can't remember
what sport was I referring to?
Football, and you said it was 0-0.
Right. Well, football it happens frequently.
Yeah, well, I mean, why? I remember because it's pointless.
And the expression pointless was a game in which no points were scored. Whether it was pointless in terms of its existence as a game is another matter altogether.
Yeah, I know. But my point was, I was trying to see if it happens in rugby. But obviously, it's very rare in rugby.
It is rare in rugby. It doesn't happen frequently. Yes.
I watched a bit of the. Is it the Six Nations or is it Six Nations?
It could be.
Yeah,
Could
so
be.
I watched a bit of that, and then there was loads of point tally. So I was like, maybe it's a bit more difficult in rugby, and you obviously is, because they get loads of points. They get like 100, 90, 80, 60, 50. When I watched the sixth final, France won a couple of years ago. They won the Six Nations.
Right.
Because I was sort of stuck. I had nothing else to do but to watch it, and because of that, it was very interesting. It was very entertaining at the time. But then, obviously, when I'm living my life, I don't really watch rugby because, after a few minutes, it gets a bit. I don't know. It's just men running, and you can't even see the ball. They're just running around.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But then, but with football, yeah. So I was going, pagan. Have you any pagan friends?
Pagans?
Yeah, people who believe in paganism.
I'm not aware of any, but who knows? I don't talk about people's religion with them.
Yeah, well, some people do like to talk about the religion, some don't. Some people yeah, but it's interesting. It's interesting. So I read about paganism, and it was mainly in Europe. People who, when Christianity came to Europe, they just didn't want any religion, so they stuck to paganism sort of thing. Does that make sense?
Well, I understand the words.
Yeah, because John the Baptist, he used to he would the Baptist, so he would baptize people way before Christianity. And then there's some paganism in certain places of the world who do that, and then it gets really complicated. They just pick up little things from there and there, and they just sort of everyone, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to explain it.
When you're telling me this, I know nothing. When John the Baptist, as you call him, and he's referred to in the Bible, when he was baptizing people, into what religion was he baptizing them, given that Christianity didn't exist until Christ came, who I believe was his cousin?
Yeah.
I may be wrong.
Yeah, so he was baptizing people in rivers under a different religion. I don't know what it is going
You
in.
don't
I don't
know.
what
That's
it is.
fine. Yeah, that's fine. I know he was doing it in rivers, but I don't know what religion it was.
Yeah.
Well, John the Baptist baptized Jesus, didn't he?
He did. Apparently he did. From what I read from Wikipedia, he did. Yeah. And then that's why Christians do that now. It was from John the Baptist. But then you have some pagans in the Middle East who are pagans, sort of a pagan, but they baptize themselves as well. And they just do it. I don't know why they do it, but their paganism is a bit different. But they baptize each other, basically.
Okay.
So pagans in Europe, I don't think they baptize each other. So it's a very simple religion. It's just if someone speaks something very straightforward without any complications, just like loving earth, loving nature, and then just respecting earth, nature, and without more detail, paganism is fairly good without any going into too many different cultures and I don't know, food and all that.
What is it that pagans believe in, assuming that they, well, I don't mean this in a rude sense, but assuming they believe in some sacred being?
No. As far as I know, from what I read from Wikipedia, as far as I know, they're just like atheists, but like loving nature, just because believing we came from nature. Like obviously, it's not evolution.
Okay.
It's not to do with evolution because evolution is scientific stuff. It's more like we've come from Earth, we like Earth, we respect Earth, and some other spiritual stuff, but nothing too like scoopy or anything too artificial or anything like that. Like there's obviously there's no what's the word? So there's nothing scientific. Science didn't exist at the time. So nothing, just I think just simple observations that we actually, because obviously we did come from Earth, so that's just simple. I would say, from an atheist point of view, I would say just simple observations of that time, where we obviously come from Earth and you have to love Earth and stuff like that, but nothing like evolution or like the biological, what's the word, and stuff like that, nothing like that.
Okay.
But it's very cool. Like if you want something old, something a bit of history, and you don't want to believe in evolution or the Big Bang, I think paganism, in simple words, it's not bad.
Right.
I don't know in detail, so I don't know. From what I read, it's more about loving Earth and some sort of simple.
Well, I'm just reading something from the internet, which is not the most reliable source for anything, but pagans believe that nature is sacred and that the natural cycles of birth, growth and death observed in the world around us carry profoundly spiritual means. Human beings are seen as part of nature, along with the other animals, trees, stones, plants and everything else that's on Earth.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. So that, I mean, everybody should believe that in some sort of way, don't they? Like, that's rather obvious, isn't it?
Well, there were two questions there. Which one do you want the answer to?
Isn't that rather obvious, what they're saying?
I don't know whether it's obvious. In what way is it obvious?
The Earth is sacred. It's the cycle of, we all, like, the cycle of, I mean, I can't remember. The Earth is sacred. We've got that cycle you mentioned. I mean, that's rather obvious, eh?
Well, I don't think during what I just read out, I didn't at any point say that they believed that the Earth was sacred.
So what did you say? Can you say again?
Well, I'm not going to read it out again. People are bored enough.
Please. No, please do, because I should have listened.
Yes, you should.
Well,
you didn't.
No,
so
life
there
is
you go.
sacred. Life is sacred. You said life.
I don't think I said that either.
I mean, to me, it sounded rather obvious what you said. I think most people believe that.
Well, if it sounded rather obvious to you, one wonders why you're asking me to repeat it. You're comfortable with your understanding of what I said, and I'm comfortable with that, so fine.
Fine, yeah. Yeah, but then it's funny how some people in certain places, but then you have a guy in Russia thinks he's Jesus, so them pagans probably were like that. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense?
Well, I didn't understand the sentence. You said there's a guy in Russia thinks he's Jesus, so them pagans, and I sort of mentally got lost there.
But there's some pagans in a certain place who sort of believe in John the Baptist.
Right.
Who sort of see him as a king, sort of thing. So their paganism is a bit more different. But then I would say that's a bit like it's normal, because there's a guy in Russia, he's got loads of followers, and he genuinely thinks he's Jesus. So there's all sorts of different beliefs.
Right. When you say he thinks he's Jesus, does he think? Indeed, he wouldn't claim it if he didn't think it. So is he claiming to be the if you like, the second coming of Jesus Christ, or is he saying he's the only Jesus Christ and the other one was an imposter?
I don't know. I don't know the details.
No, that's fine. If you don't know, I don't know is a good answer on this program. We're always comfortable with I don't know.
But he dresses like what he thinks Jesus was dressed like, and he has a following, and that's all I know. And
Can he turn water into wine?
I would doubt it.
Well, I mean, if you don't know, say I don't know.
I don't know.
I have no interest in your guess, so you don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's fine. You can start. Once you say I don't know, we don't need to pursue it any further. You don't know.
You might be wrong in 10, 20, 50 years time. We just don't know. Yeah. You could possibly be the.
So keep saying I don't know, and I'll keep thinking, oh, he doesn't know.
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
No, you don't need to say it again. We have established that you don't know the answer to my question, and that's perfectly fine. There's no reason why you should, and we now know that you don't, and we can move on if you choose.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, what paganism believes, I think it's rather obvious, and it's rather. I think most people, as they get older, they sort of do believe what the simple terms of paganism.
What are you basing that on?
Based on that statement you just said, something was taken.
No, I'm not asking you. I'm not asking you what it is you're claiming. You seem to say that most people, as they get older, believe the same kind of thing that the pagans profess to believe in.
No, I mean they wouldn't disagree they wouldn't disagree to that statement you mentioned. That statement of what they believe.
Okay, well, I'm intrigued that you feel able to speak on behalf of older people all over the world, but it's your privilege.
Yeah, because I think it's a bit like if it rains, and then if you get wet, and then if you say the earth is sacred, and there's I can't remember what it was. I mean, that's rather obvious.
Well, I didn't at any point say if it rains and you get wet. I would have said it had I thought of it, but I'm not as clever as you, clearly.
No, I think it's obvious like that then. The older, probably rather obvious.
Okay.
Certain things are, I mean, it's a bit like your house. Your house is sacred. So
one's house is what?
And your house is sacred. What's the word? Sacred.
In what way is one's house sacred?
Because it's a shelter. So it's a shelter. So it's sacred. It depends. I don't know what people think of sacred is, but it's a shelter, isn't it? So Earth is a shelter.
Well, one's house generally is a shelter, but I'm asking you, why is the word sacred attached to shelter? I mean, bus shelters aren't sacred, are they? Are they shelter? Yes, I mean, we're not debating what a house can achieve. You said a house was sacred, and I'm asking you to explain in what way a house is sacred.
Okay, that's my mentality then. So I would say,
well, it's clearly that, yes.
If you don't have a house, then your home, then you could die of diseases and stuff. That's why I would say sacred. A safe place. So safe, sacred.
Well, it's a safe place, yes. It's in many circumstances it is. There are a lot of people who, of course, live in a house that is not a safe place. Some people are abused in their own home.
Yeah. But then religious ideologies, they like to use deeper meaning, like words with deeper, like sacred. What they mean is a safe place. Like, because if you go into space, there's no oxygen. But then if you're on Earth, there's oxygen. So Earth is sacred.
And some of that oxygen is wasted by people breathing it. How do Andrew?
Oh, hiya, Alan. You all right?
I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to talk to you, mate. I've been listening to you for about 4 years. I'm a truck driver. I was just down in Manchester area and I picked up your station back then, and I've been hooked ever since. It's the first time I've called you, and I just want to say that I hope it doesn't end. I know there's a possibility it will, and I hope the BBC will look at...
It's not a possibility, it's a definite. We just don't know when.
It's such a shame, Alan, because you've got so much experience and you're really funny on the phone. And I mean, I've even done like a video. Well, like when you record the conversation on you can. There's a way to do it on the iPhone. and I've sent it to my brother, and he's just hilarious. You know, he finds it so funny, and that's why, you know, I just hope that this station will carry on, because there's so many people that love listening to you. I mean, I'm a truck driver, work 58, 60 hours a week, and if I can't catch you on the weekend, then I'll listen to you during the week, and that's one enjoyment I love. You know, I can put talk sport on, listen to them, not talking about football, but with this talk, you know, with the call-ins that we do, I just really enjoy listening to it. And I mean, I know you've had James Will, you know, in the past that have done some, you know, call-ins like this, but there's not many out there that are currently doing it. And that's why I can't believe that they want to stop this and do something else. I mean, I don't know what's going on, whether they're going to bring new people in. But I just think you know, you're the best to me that can do, you know, that I enjoy more. I know you've had sittings, people coming in that are doing what you're doing now, but I don't find it as enjoyable. I mean, even when you were out in Canada, you know, I did, you know, we all missed you, and it was good to have a change, but still, I wasn't drawn in like I am now.
Okay, well, it's good to have a change, and there's another one coming. We just don't know when, but thank you for your comments, Andrew. How do David? Hello, David.
Hello.
What would you like to talk about, David?
Hello there, Alan.
Hello.
You had a gentleman on before who was on the floor, disabled, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to give you some information that might help him or might not. He may have carers who look after him, which I think he said he did, but I got from him that the carers had finished for the day. You suggested get an ambulance, and that's correct, they could help. But his local city or town, wherever he lives, they might have what's called a social services out of hours called careline, like Liverpool's got. So it's possible there could be a care line run by wherever this gentleman lives. He could ring them to say he's on the floor, if they've got one. Having said that, any voluntary agency that deal with disabled people in his area, there may be, I don't know where he's from, but I thought it might be useful for you to have another idea. So I thought I would let you know. We could have
Thank
a
you.
local care line,
Good idea.
which empowered after care and the job.
Right, well, that's a possibility. Yeah, that's grand. Thank you, David. Thank you very much. If the gentleman's still listening, I hope you took note of that. Thank you. Have a good night. How do Wendy?
Hello?
Hello.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
I can, yes, but you'll need to turn your radio off or whatever it is you're listening on in the background.
I was on loudspeaker.
That's all right.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Right, so, I've not been on the phone for a bit because, like, everything I say, you try and, like, make out I'm like a fool. So anyway, I was watching this Jeremy Vine show the other week, and they had a conversation, no, it's not a conversation, a headline for a phone-in about cannabis to be legal. Now, I just think to myself that I think it should be made legal in the fact that the amount of situations that happen with that, I wouldn't even call it a drug, as in like a drug. I would call it something that God gave, like it's a plant, you know, like a drug is something that like you get from like Boots the Chemist or the pharmaceutical, you know, something that man made.
Well, cannabis is a drug, but you're also cannabis is a drug. It's also a plant, as you rightly say.
Yeah, but
and it
like,
does have. It does have.
Can I just say, Alan? You know, it's only the human that's, described it and then named it a drug. What is it that we're trying to say about it being a drug? A paracetamol, a flipping aspirin, all these other many name things are drugs. I don't think that something that, you can't get you don't grow like a paracetamol, like a plant, and get like paracetamol little white tablets off this plant. You know what I mean? You can't grow a paracetamol plant. Now, a cannabis plant you can grow. So I think within the formula of like a plant, it's grown, or it's
well, just because something is grown, just because something is a plant, doesn't mean it's not harmful. I mean, foxglove is a plant. If you ate it, it could quite possibly kill you. Deadly nightshade is a plant. You ate that, you'd be dead. So there are lots of plants that can harm you. The discussion isn't whether cannabis is a plant or a drug or whatever. The discussion is, do we in this country want to legalise a mind-controlling product? That's the question.
Okay, so on that Jeremy Vine programme, I rang in because I give quite a good comment. I think that the amount of crime that comes from not allowing it to be, legal, I think, I think that it should be. There'd be so much.
That's right. Wendy, that is a valid point, but of course, some uncomfortable arguer could come back and say, well, bank robbery causes an awful lot of trouble, so let's make that legal. Because people get shot during bank robberies.
But
let's make it legal. The issue is whether it is. The issue isn't whether it's legal or not in per se. The issue is whether it is harmful. And if it is harmful, and most things are in the wrong quantity, if it is harmful, should we allow people to make that choice for themselves, or should we prevent them from making that choice for themselves? That's the issue.
See, I think what happens is when there comes a discussion about it, the people who are trying to describe or say something about it, like what you just said then. I mean, whatever it was that you were jangling then, that was just like trying, I think, to baffle my brain within the sense of I don't even know what the hell it was that you were trying to say to me then. The point is,
I'm not trying to batter your brain, Wendy. I'm trying to get you to tell me why you think it should be legal without referring to paracetamol, Jeremy Vine, or anything else. Why do you think that cannabis should be legal?
I don't believe. Okay, so you've got a tomato, yeah. It's grown like
tomatoes are already legal. Confine yourself to cannabis, otherwise we're going to have to go through the whole vegetable population, and I haven't got time. So why do you think cannabis should be legal?
I think cannabis should be legal because it does not. It's not a drug that makes you go out and do crime. I think if you don't allow it being legal, there is much more crime within people like to smoke cannabis. The system that governs us people within the system, people like to smoke it, people don't like to smoke it. The people that do like to smoke it, let's say, they're within a ruling that it's illegal. Now, if it was made legal, there'd be streets, avenues, roads, cul-de-sacs, estates that would be not within this thing that, because some higher-uppers say you can't do that and you can't do this.
Well, you may or may not be interested to know, I've just been on holiday to Canada for a month. And in Canada, they have cannabis shops on the high street. You just go in and buy
I go to LA quite a lot, and I know over there, so I can't understand why, the government that's running, whichever government that it is that's running, they're not running the streets. They're just like in charge of like what it is that we're say this and we're say that. Where they don't even come round our avenues. They're not interested at all. But what I'm saying is allow something that allows, everyone, whoever wants to like smoke it, to like just, it's got nothing to do with them anyway.
Well, it has. The government.
Not really.
Well, not really. The government has the obligation to make the laws for the country. They believe, and many people like you, many people like you believe that the government get it wrong a lot. Indeed, some people even believe they get it wrong all the time. Quite a lot of people agree with you that cannabis in this country should be perfectly legal, and there would be benefits from that. And other countries have done it. Portugal's done it. I think it's legal throughout Holland, but I'm not entirely sure. I know that there are shops, because I've just been up and down the high street in Canada, and there are hoardings advertising buy your cannabis from our shop instead of any other, so they don't appear to have gone to the dogs since it was legalised. So yes, there are lots of people agree with you, Wendy. But thanks for your call. Have a good night. Have a good night. 0800 218 2255. Wendy says cannabis should be legalised. What do you say? Now, before you start saying, hey, it's a drug, just remember, tobacco's legal. That's a proven killer. Alcohol's legal. Yeah, and people get up to all sorts of things when they've had a few. Not everybody, but some. And all sorts of other things are perfectly legal that are harmful. Riding motorcycles, that should be banned. People get killed doing that. You can list things that are permissible but dangerous. And why should cannabis be illegal? As long as people know the potentials, then wouldn't a free society say, get on with it? Do as you please, providing it's not harming somebody else. What do you say? 0800 218 2255. As I say, I think it's just been legalised in Portugal. I know that it's legal and just readily available throughout Canada. And I don't think people they're not all sitting there glassy-eyed going, oh, man. 0800 218 2255. How do Peter? Hello, Peter. Goodbye, Peter. We had a budgie called Peter. It starved to death. It did, I know. It was my fault as well. But then I was young, 0800 218 2255. Here's Seal with a kiss from 0800 218 2255. It's getting on for half past midnight. We're here till 1, so there's a bit of time if you want to join us. How do, Alan?
Hi, Alan. I hope you're having a good weekend.
Indeed, I am.
Good. It's about the cannabis debate. Okay. I think it should be legalised, because, in America, certain states have legalised it now, a couple of years now. Yeah. Well, I remember seeing a documentary about an English documentary crew went over to America and questioned all the lawmakers in these states that had made it legal. And every one of them said it was the best thing we ever did. The money, the taxes they got off it. It's also freed the police, the law agency, FBI, CIA, etc., to go after the bigger drug dealers, like cocaine, and also these new drugs like crank and all the, zombie drugs and all this, which really damage you more than cannabis do. It's freed the police and all that to go after them, and then the dealers have...
What do you say to those who say that cannabis is a gateway drug, if you like?
It's not, Alan. That's from personal experience. It can be, of course it can, but so can coffee. Coffee can lead on to heroin. Do you know what I mean? It's a drug, isn't it? Coffee.
Yes, it could.
You've got to believe personality, Alan.
Certainly people who have consumed coffee may well at a later date become an addict of whatever else. But the issue is cause and effect. The gateway argument, and I'm not the gateway argument is one that gets the other frequently. Well, you do know what it is, but you took it at a tangent and said, well, coffee can do the same thing. Well, that's nonsense.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Cannabis can be a gateway drug, but so can anything else. Cigarettes can. And what I'm saying is it's your personality, Alan. If you've got an addictive personality...
Becoming an addict, yes. Becoming an addict could relate...
Alan, can I just say this from personal... This is from personal experience. I'm not like reading out of a book or getting off the internet. I'm 60 odd years of age now, and I've been smoking it on and off every day, on and off. on and off since I was 15, mate. It's like 50 years.
Okay. Well, let me ask you a question. Do you
I've never took any other drug. I've never took cocaine.
You keep answering the questions I've not asked.
You're saying a gateway drug.
No, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything. Alan,
it hasn't to me. It hasn't been.
Some people say it is a gateway drug. Now, gateway drugs
it can
don't.
Be, It can.
And
it
so,
hasn't been to me.
Well, okay, it hasn't been to you. Let me ask the question before you answer it. It'll be a lot easier. Dear God. So it hasn't to you. The question is. Is it worth having cannabis legalised when the consequence for those people you described as addictive personalities could end up lying in a street with a syringe in their arm as a result of following the journey of...
Yeah, but not because of legalisation, Alan, but them same people... Now, I've just let you finish. Let me explain. Answer you in perfectly logical explanation. Them same people that could be lying in the gutter with a syringe in their arm, right, would be in the same position, whether it was legalised or not. Do you get me? It's not legal now. And them same addictive personalities could still be lying in the gutter in 6 months, 12 months' time.
Indeed, they could. The issue is, if it was legalised, would there be more such individuals who follow, if you like, the gateway drug?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I don't know.
According to these documentaries, it was a while ago, Alan. So I can't remember the exact details, but the mayor of certain towns, they visited a few. They didn't just go to one. They visited a few different states in America that had legalised it. This is just after they legalised it, so it was a couple of years ago, and it was a British documentary. And every single one of them, like the mayor, the chief of police, they all said, oh, God, it was the best thing we ever did. Why didn't we do it years ago? It's cleaned up the streets.
And maybe they're correct. The issue is...
And more and more states, and as you just previously said before, different countries are legalising it, and it seems to be gaining momentum. Let's hope so, anyway. But I mean, this country's in a bit of...
What we don't know is what are the consequences of those decisions to legalise it.
Well, in these... maybe it was too early, Alan. But in these documentaries, it didn't... They didn't give no consequences or...
No, because it was, as you say, possibly too early. 10 years down the road, and I'm not predicting this, I merely posed the question, 10 years down the road, those same mayors may be saying, well, we made a lot of money out of it, but it was the worst thing we ever did.
On various different subjects, Alan, you said, took the opinion of, said, like, well, if we hadn't have done this and if we hadn't have done that, we'd still be living in a cave, hunting bison. So, let's try it anyway.
So
this country now, Britain...
So, Alan, we have to make decisions. But what we try to do, one would hope, is make the right ones. And the issue is, is there a societal danger in the legalisation of cannabis?
I don't think so. But also, in these documentaries, they were saying they ring-fenced the money they were making off the tax off it, right? They ring-fenced it for, like, medical, to help worse drug users like heroin and cocaine users and, alcohol anonymous, etc. So the ring fence the money. So it seemed like a win-win, Alan. And also I'm saying, if you just let me finish just before I go, I'll go now, I promise.
If our government brought in cannabis, legalised cannabis, there is no doubt about it, they would tax it to the hilt and there would be fiscal benefits for the country. What the country would then do with it would be up to the government, but yes.
Well, that's what I think, is this country's in such a mess financially after the COVID and all that, and the money we're just ploughing into Ukraine. I think we need something like that, because, like I say, I can't remember the details of these documentaries, but I certainly remember the general gist of it, that it was all good, win-win. So, I think this country needs it. That's all I'm saying. And it might be, a good idea to put it back on our feet again.
Okay. Well, that's a fairly positive position. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time anyway, Alan.
That's why I'm here. 0800 218 2255. If you want to join us, do you think cannabis should be legalised? And it is legal in an awful lot of countries now. Cannabis is decriminalised. It's slightly different than legalised, but, let's not be over picky. Is weed legal in Portugal? Well, it was decriminalised in 2001 and certainly legalised base medicines 2018. And you have to be licensed to sell it and all the rest of it. But maybe you do in Canada, but in Canada, there are high street shops that are advertising hoardings saying, come and get your weed from here, come and buy our weed, it's better than their weed, a bit like a washing powder. So should it be legalised in this country? And yes, it probably would be taxed and therefore probably would be valuable. It is rather weird. In Portugal it's decriminalised, but it's neither its sale nor its purchase is permitted. However, no one's ever prosecuted for it. It's a bizarre situation. You either do the job or you don't do the job. But what do you say? Should cannabis be legalised in the United Kingdom? Or even in England, if you like, where we are? 0800 218 2255. How do Michael?
Hi, Alan. How are you?
I'm awfully well, thank you.
I'm well, thank you for asking. So I wanted to answer your question, which basically said, would the legalisation of cannabis cause societal harm? And it would, is the answer to that question. And I wondered, have you ever seen the website attackersmokecannabis.com?
No, nor will I.
Well, okay. Well, if you don't want to watch it, it's a regularly updated website that contains updates of mass shooters and murders, and all these murders and mass shootings have one common linkage, where the shooter or the stabber or the person who committed a violent action smokes marijuana. So it would cause societal harm, is the answer to your question.
Well, we have to challenge everything that's said on this program, I do, to say that these people smoked cannabis and then went out and did what they did doesn't necessarily mean that smoking the cannabis caused them to do what they did. We have to try and separate cause and effect from sequence.
Well, that's an elementary, philosophy class 101, but it's the case of, what is the underlying account. So I might get into a car and have 9 pints and knock somebody down, but I don't think it would hold up in court if I said, well, just because I had 9 pints doesn't mean that caused me to knock somebody over. You can
indeed. You could even have 9 cigarettes of marijuana and knock somebody down. But the cause and effect is the important thing. Did the people who you refer to doing the shooting shoot who they shot because they used cannabis, or would they have shot them anyway? That's the issue.
Well, it's about like what sense of mind they have, and then what was their kind of circumstantial environment in which these people would have. So there is increasing research now that says that it is a gateway drug, marijuana, and it does lead to psychosis. So if a thing keeps on reoccurring, like you can't infer cause from effect, of course, but I think in society and rational adults, if you keep on seeing a problem and you keep on seeing a direct linkage, then it is on society's onus to establish what that is. And your previous caller argument about, well, it's not a gateway drug and you get loads of money for it, but then 2 seconds later that caller said, but we will legalise smack or heroin, but why wouldn't you? The argument that you should legalise cannabis is the same argument that you should legalise anything. But if you did that, you would have the same effect of society that Los Angeles has, where you see people shooting up in the street and pushing people in front of metros. So my question to you, Alan, is that the kind of society that you would like, or are you on the side of the more conservative people who think that obviously
I don't have a side. I don't want the society that you just described, but I don't necessarily accept or reject that is the society that cannabis would create. I've just been to Canada. I wasn't shot, and yet cannabis is readily available in just shops on the street. You just go in and you buy what you require, and you go away and you consume it. And I don't know whether there's been an increase in the number of murders or assaults or anything else. I've no idea, but I would imagine the Canadian authorities would be aware. But it's perfectly available, readily available, as available almost as alcohol.
But when I mentioned the website Attack and Smoke Cannabis,
I don't want any more adverts for a website. I don't do adverts for websites.
Well, I don't. I'm not getting commission for it. Don't worry. It's just an.
I don't care whether you are or not. I don't do it.
I know you're not. I'm just saying, if you're genuinely interested in this, is not just like a talk radio show. Because
I have no interest in anything, Michael. Good night. 0800 218 2255. We don't advertise websites on here. If they want an advert, they can go where they do advertising and pay for it. I have different standards. Or no standards at all in many people's view, which is perfectly fine by me. Hello, Peter. Good night, Peter. You're an idiot. How do Tracy?
Yo, Alan, yo. Now then. I know it goes against your grain. I know this really, really, really oils you. I know this really does your yo-yoing. But let me tell you. Yeah, well, there you go. Maybe that's why. That's maybe why you don't just... You just should, chillax, and go with the flow. The only thing, people go on. You don't have a problem doing a paracetamol or a bit of codeine in here and that and a tablet here and there. Let me tell you, there's nothing wrong with the weed, Al.
Fair enough.
Nothing wrong with the weed.
Okay.
And Alan, can I tell you something else?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. You're not... Listen, dude. Elon Musk and that other dude. Are they going to have that fight or what? I'm telling you what. Do you know what I'd do? Oh my God. Elon's not going to win that fight, is he?
I've no idea.
Oh, come on. Come on. Put your big boots on. Come on, Alan. What do you think?
I don't. I have no idea who'll win.
Who do you think really is going to win the war there? Do you know what I mean? It's a bit like Vladimir, banging heads, isn't it? What do you think? Well, I'll tell you what. I won't say I was gambling, but if I could put money on it, I'm telling you, Elon's not going to win that. And you freaking Ukrainian yo-yo, you warmonger, who everyone adores, and they're all backing. I won't put a penny on him. Let me tell you, if I knew what I knew when I knew what I knew. Oh. And you know, Cannabis, I'm telling you, I don't do, you know me, I used to do hardcore, and I'm telling you, I don't even do a painkiller today, yo. You know, because the weed, man, I'm telling you, I'm not trying to be crazy or anything like that, but I'm telling you, it really is like that. You know? We spend years taking loads of crap that we don't need to take, and all the time it's there in front of you. You just mow. You know? I mean, don't get me wrong. I've got the worst cough in the world, mate. I can cough it up for England, but I don't have to take a paracetamol. I don't have to take an aspirin. You know? So, Alan, what's your choice? What's your choice? You know, they tell you to do this and take that and do that. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the weed. If you get decent, clean weed, you know, yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's like honey. You know, honey. If you get honey and it's from one apiary, you know, and it's the same with plants, it's a beautiful thing. Nature intended. Nature intended. It can't be offensive. And it's ridiculous for some dude to come up to you and say you can't do that. Well, we won't be having that, yo. I know, Putty Cat. I know. Do that, Cat. Right then.
Yes, I've not met yours, so I can't be fully convinced about yours, but no matter. I'll do Eric. Hello, Eric. We have no Eric. We are seriously injured by the non-existence of Eric. What a shame. Listen to this. A 3,000-year-old gold torque has been found in a field in Essex. I don't suppose it was just lying there, so somebody had to dig it up. Anyway, now, I know you're wondering what a torque is. A torque is a bit of twisted bar that used to be used as a sort of necklace. Yeah, it's made of gold, apparently. And it's been declared treasure trove, so someone somewhere is going to make an awful lot of money. So, contrary to the old adage, torque is not cheap. Aye, thank you. How do Eric? Hello, Eric. All right, I'm giving up on Eric. Oh, you're there, are you? Oh, well done. What would you like to talk about, Eric?
Right, I've got a solution for the growing of marijuana.
I didn't know there was a problem of growing marijuana.
And it goes like this. Grow your own dope, plant Allan Beswick.
Right.
How's that for you?
It's very good, yes, very good.
Because you're still a prat.
Well, that is true. But I could be sat at home making phone calls to a prat. What does that make me? Have a good night. How do Alan?
Oh, hang on. I've just heard me say. Oh. You okay?
I'm awfully well, thank you.
Yeah? Yeah. I heard a lot talking before about, marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not a smoker of, well, I'm not now. I'm 63 years old. But when I was about 16, no, about 50 years ago, I did have a vocabulary. I've never done nothing for me. But all my mates were there having a little dabble, like, so you get in with the kids. But they're all smackheads now. They're on the cocaine and all that. But I mean, when I started working and making a living and started a family, that all obviously stopped. You see where I'm coming from?
Well, I understand what you're saying, that you got out of the use of cannabis and got a family and the rest of it, and your friends didn't, and they're all now crackheads.
But I will. No, I'm not talking about crackheads, and I'm not knocking people, if you don't understand what I'm saying. But I walk out of my house and I can smell it in the air, the cannabis.
Mm.
You know, it's everywhere. So, you know, you walk outside the pub and you can smell smoke, cannabis, or any whatever. You go into a pub. I'm not saying I agree with high level people taking drugs. I'm saying about cannabis for personal reasons. You know, if you've got an illness or something like, if you've got an illness or something like that.
Well, so you're saying that I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so do correct me if I say the wrong thing, but you seem to be saying that cannabis should be all right for medicinal use, but not for...
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But I've not finished. But not for recreational use. Is that what you're saying?
Well, if you want to use it as right. No, what I'm trying to say, Alan, is that people that go further on, I don't know, what do they call it? Vitamins and crap like that.
Well, let's just say stronger drugs, and then we don't have to worry about which ones we mean, yeah.
Yeah. But if cannabis relieves people of pain and stuff like that, it should be legalised.
Well, so again, you seem to be saying that cannabis used for medicinal reasons is okay, but cannabis used just for the fun of it is not. Yeah.
That's because it leads on to different stuff, doesn't it? You've got to step up.
Most people, I would imagine, and I've no statistics to back this up, most people who use heroin probably used cannabis first. But that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that everybody that uses cannabis will end up using heroin. They're not. It isn't an inevitable step.
Yeah, well, I know where you're coming from, Alan. All I'm saying is that I'm not a user of it, so I don't understand it. If I do need it, at my age, I'm 63 years old, but if I do need it, I can ask anyone to get it. I can ask anyone to get heroin, but I don't want heroin. But I think it should, for a pain relief, it should be used. It should be legalised for it.
Right. Okay. Good on you. Good to talk to you. 0800 218 2255. I do, John.
Hi, Alan. You okay?
Very well, thank you.
Well, I've just carried on the conversation from the previous caller about cannabis.
John, can I just stop you a second? You've got a radio or something else on in the background.
Yeah, sorry, Alan. Sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry. I'll turn it down, yeah. Well, I've just carried on the conversation from the last caller about cannabis.
Okay.
Do you think it should be legalised?
I don't have a view.
You don't have a view?
Correct.
Right, okay. Personally, I think it should be.
Why?
Well, it's got medicinal purposes, hasn't it? It helps people out who've got, like, arthritis, rheumatism, stuff like that. There's all different aspects that it can be beneficial towards.
We're not suggesting that this discourse isn't about whether people who use it for their arthritis should be okay using it. This is about whether people use it just because they want to. That's what we're talking about. Should it be legalised? So if you felt like it, just like if you wanted a glass of alcohol, you could go and get an off-licence, a supermarket, and go in a pub. Well, should you also be able to go to a place that just sells cannabis and you just go in, could I have a pack of cannabis, please?
I would say no.
No. So you don't think it should be legalised for general consumption by anyone over 16?
Personally, no.
Right. Why?
I don't really. It's a difficult one. Well, there's beneficial sides to it, but I know it can cause psychosis, can't it? Apparently, and stuff like that. Like, so there's like side effects to it.
Well, there are side effects to alcohol, and that's readily available.
Yeah, true.
Side effects to tobacco, that's readily available. And we know tobacco
exactly,
is a serious cause of disease, costs the National Health Service an absolute flaming fortune. So, again, if a person... I mean, first of all, the cannabis that people buy almost always comes from an illegal source because the supply of it is illegal. So they're getting it from an illegal source.
Yeah.
And what we don't know is the quality of it. We don't know what it's been mixed with. We don't know whether it's got a bit of heroin, so they've got you addicted. We don't know. If it was legalised, like alcohol, if it was legalised, then there would be proper places where you could buy it, and you would know the bona fides of it, if you like. You'd know it would just be the cannabis plant or the panelist tablet or whatever. It wouldn't be cut with something illegal, because if it was, the shops would shut down. So wouldn't that be an advantage?
It would be, yeah.
So making it legal might make it safer.
Well, I suppose there's pros and cons, isn't there, to it? Like, I don't know, you know. I don't know. I mean, there's always been a black market for it.
So the best way to get rid of a black market is to legalise what it is that people are selling.
Well, it's the same as Holland, isn't it? We go to Amsterdam.
Holland, it's legal in Amsterdam. I mean, they're trying to stop it in Amsterdam, to be honest, but that's another story.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, they're trying to. It's legal in Amsterdam. I've just said I've just been to Canada for a month, and there they have cannabis shops.
Yeah.
Just next to the supermarket or the school or what have you, there are cannabis shops.
Crazy.
Well, that's what they do. Canada's quite a nice place with quite nice people, it would seem, with a little bit of it I saw, but it doesn't appear to have gone to the dogs yet, but it may well be there before too long. Who knows? Good on you, John. Good to
Take care,
talk to you.
bye now.
And you, mate. Have a good night. Hey, dearie me. Cannabis.
At 1 o'clock, this is Jason Kay. The Defence Secretary Ben Wallace says he'll leave the post in the next cabinet reshuffle and stand down as an MP at the next election. Mr Wallace, who's managed Britain's response to the Ukrainian war, has expressed an interest in taking over from Jens Stoltenberg as the head of NATO in the autumn, but the US wanted the current Secretary-General to stay on for another year. For the first time in Wimbledon history, an unseeded player outside the top 32 ranked players in the competition won the women's singles title. The Czech player Markéta Vondrousova beat the Tunisian 6th seed Ons Jabeur in straight sets. Our tennis correspondent Russell Fuller says it would have been a memorable afternoon for both players.
For Ons Jabeur, because she was in the final last year and she was in floods of tears at the end, having finished runner-up for the second year in a row. And for the latest Grand Slam champion, Markéta Vondrousova, the first unseeded ladies singles champion in Wimbledon history. A player who'd been in the French Open final before, had won the silver medal at the Tokyo Olympics, but had very little pedigree on grass before these championships. So a surprise. Certainly not a player you would have thought of as a likely champion at the start of the fortnight.
Large areas of the United States and continental Europe are experiencing extremely high temperatures. The capital of Arizona, Phoenix, recorded 15 straight days above 43 Celsius. California's Death Valley is likely to reach an all-time high of 54 Celsius. Temperatures in Italy, Spain and Greece are also breaking records. And in Israel, the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has blamed the hot weather for him being admitted to hospital with dehydration. In a video statement, he said he was now feeling better and urged people to be careful of the hot weather.
Yesterday, I spent time at the Sea of Galilee with my wife in the sun, without a hat, without water. Not a good idea. I'd like to thank all of you for the concern and to thank the excellent team here in Sheba who examined me. But I have one request of you. We're undergoing a heat wave in the country, so I ask of you to spend less time in the sun and drink more water.
For the first time, the family of the director Stanley Kubrick have allowed one of his films to be adapted for the stage. Dr. Strangelove, his Cold War apocalyptic satire from 1964, will open in the West End next year. It's being adapted by the satirist Armando Iannucci, who said there was no better way to cheer up the nation than a show about the end of the world.
And the whole thing was predicated on this absurd logic that they won't go for us because they know we'll go for them and then we'll all die. So surely they won't go for us. That's the kind of calculus that's put into politics. And yet, what happens if there is a rogue, in the film there's a rogue general? What happens if there is a rogue, let's for the sake of argument call it Putin?
The satirist Armando Iannucci, who is adapting Stanley Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove. That's the BBC News at 3.